Hi and welcome everyone to Season 5 of the Roo Hammer live show where we talk all things One New Zealand Warriors. Thank you all for joining us once again. Tonight we're going to discuss the Magic Round and the Warriors' incredible win over the reigning premiers, the Penrith Panthers, take a quick look at other Magic Round results and preview this week's Round 12 home game against the Dolphins, which we will be attending together at Mount Smart Stadium for the first time ever, mate. Joining me tonight as usual is my good mate and co-host Warrior Roo. Rob, how are you, mate? How's your week been?
G'day, mate. Great to be here as always. G'day to everyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube. Great to have you with us, mate. My week has been awesome for a very good reason.
Yep.
Yeah, as you all know, I attended Magic Round and it was an absolutely fantastic afternoon out there at the footy. I want to give a special shout out to my good mate Tim and good friend of the show who provided me with a ticket, and what a ticket it was. Row 1. I was dead set right down front row. I had a box seat to all the action. You can see it all on my blog. Jump over onto YouTube and check out my game day blog.
Yep.
But it was an absolutely fantastic afternoon. One I will remember forever. It was one of the best days at the footy, if not the best day at the footy I've ever had. That win was just out of this world. Going to go down in Warriors history. Probably one of the top 10 wins of all time. I'll talk a bit more about it later, but yeah, I mean, I've still been buzzing from that ever since, and absolutely can't wait to get over to New Zealand this weekend and go to our first game at Go Media / Mount Smart / Ericsson Stadium as Roo Hammer. So yeah, how about yourself?
Pretty quiet weekend, mate, for me. Unlike you, I wasn't able to attend Magic Round this year. We've worked out that the two Magic Rounds that I haven't attended are the only two Magic Rounds Warriors have had a win. So maybe I just stay away from Magic Round in future seasons.
Please do. Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed it. It did look like a whole heap of fun, and having been there for the last three, I know how big of a weekend it is. So yeah, a bit sad that I wasn't able to attend, but the reason I didn't go was because, as you said, we are going to New Zealand this weekend and couldn't justify spending the coin over 2 consecutive weekends and the travel and time off work and all the rest of it. So didn't get to go up there. Thankfully, I didn't though, because we had a bit of a celebration here in Sydney. My partner Danny, her eldest daughter Casey, got engaged over the weekend to her boyfriend / now fiance Mitch. So that was good. Had a bit of a family get together for them over the weekend, which was great. So congratulations to Mitch and Casey.
Congrats.
But yeah, mate, now looking forward to this weekend, and we're going to get straight into it. We'll start talking about all things Warriors. Before we get into tonight's show, I invite you all, if you haven't already done so, to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page to show your support for the streaming content we do create. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters and subscribers on all social media platforms, in particular our generous Patreon subscribers, whose donations and support enables us to continue to bring all you guys the content and the guests that we enjoy so much. And just a reminder to everyone that has tuned in tonight, the reason we do the show live is to get the involvement of all you watching. So please, as we move through the discussion points, join the conversation, leave your comments, but please be aware that we do have current and ex-players and their families that do watch this webcast. So keep your comments respectful and refrain from making them personal or derogatory in nature. But before we get into the review of the game, mate, as you said, you're at Magic Round this weekend. Tell us a little bit about another successful and well-attended Warrior Nation pre-game fan function at the Lord Alfred. How was that?
Yeah, mate, it was massive. It was another packed out upstairs veranda section, as you guys know who have been to the Lord Alfred Hotel, the usual spot. I wasn't quite sure what to expect this year, obviously with the team struggling in the last month, and there's a big Warriors supporter base up here in Brisbane / Southeast Queensland. So I knew that there would be a decent turnout, but mate, it was huge. It was probably bigger than last Magic Round. So I turned up, said g'day to the usual. So Tukes and Campo were there. They're part of the furniture at these kind of functions, though. Yeah,
they are
always awesome to have them there. Cam George turned up. Jesse and a few of the other Warriors staff were there as well. The guys with it from the One Take podcast. So Surly and Jacko were doing their potty in the corner there. So that'll come out this week or next week, I would imagine.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a huge event. It's good to catch up with a few people that I haven't met before. In particular, Anthony Peake. It was good to meet you, mate. Yeah, and there was a mixture of the old faithful and a lot of people I didn't know as well. But it went off. There was all the chanting that took me back to the semi-final last year. The ooh, ah, up the wires, and all that sort of thing going on. So yeah, that was brilliant. It really set the tone. And I think when I was speaking to a few people at the function, I was probably a little bit guilty of being, I guess it's easy to say this in hindsight, but I was a bit negative, like geez, I have to say before this Magic round, it was probably, I'll be honest, it was probably the least enthusiastic that I've ever been about going to a Magic round. But mate, you just never know what can happen, and you never know what can unfold. And it went from that to being one of the greatest afternoons at footy that I've ever experienced. Did the walk down to you got to do the walk down Caxton Street. It's all part of the experience, and they had all these sort of stalls and kids' activities and everything set up. So it just added to the Magic Round carnival atmosphere.
It's getting bigger and bigger every year, isn't it?
It is. It really is getting bigger. This was probably twice the size of what it was when it started. So they had all these games, they had all these like passing games, kicking games. So Tim's young bloke was getting involved in all of that, which was pretty cool. And they've got like that Eat Street thing outside the stadium and everything. So it really adds to it. So if any of you guys are ever thinking whether you should go or not, you really got to go and experience it.
And it's locked in now for another 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, 2027.
Yep.
And it really is. I know I might be biased because I'm a Brisbane local, but it really is, in my opinion, the best place to watch rugby league.
Yep.
You got such a great vantage point. It's got that Coliseum kind of feel to it. It's a really great place to watch footy.
Yeah, it is.
And then so we walked in, took our seats in row 1, and onto the game. The final leg of the Warriors' 3 away games in Australia culminated in our Magic Round clash against the reigning premiers, Penrith Panthers, on Sunday afternoon. And the Panthers went into this game with a significant omission of the cyborg himself, Nathan Cleary. However, there were mass changes for the Warriors, particularly in the back line. So regular half SJ, he was out. And first choice centre pairing of RTS and Rocco Berry, they were also out. And Coach Webby with some interesting selections, we thought at the time. So Adam Pompey and Ali Leatawa, they were named in the centres. Tane Tuapiki, plenty more about him later, named at fullback to return to first grade. And Chancellor Cook-Lookster, he was named in the unfamiliar role of 5'8", to partner the was under pressure, Tomato Martin in the halves. Tohu Harris, he was the late withdrawal with a thumb injury, 24 hours for kickoff. Wade Egan, he was given the captaincy in his absence. Dylan Walker moved into the starting 13. Paul Roach, crucially, named on the interchange bench. Still no Zion Mayu. This is a very curious one. And I was actually hoping that I was hoping to actually have a chat to someone maybe from the club and try and get some insight into this. But to no avail. But again, 18th man, you've got to start questioning his omission. Considering especially all the injuries that we have. But it's a bizarre one. I know Brad will agree with that.
Yep.
And look, as we all know, the scoreline: Warriors 22-20 victors. Montoya, Leatawa, Pompey, and Tuapiki tries. Pompey 0 from 1, Tuapiki 3 from 3. The Panthers 20. Edwards, Luai, Yo, Tungo, Edwards 2 from 4. That's a very important stat, that one, as we all know. The game itself, I thought we could not have had a worse start to this game at all.
Correct.
So apart from maybe conceding a try immediately from the kickoff or something, it couldn't have been much worse. And
well, it was almost that, wasn't it?
It was almost that, really. It was like one and a half minutes later. And the ease that Dylan Edwards strolled over, you thought, geez, I looked to Tim and I said, mate, we're in for a long afternoon here. But then as the match went on, we sort of got into the grind. And Sorry about the background noise there. But yeah,
mate.
we got into the grind, and like we managed to claw back a try of our own. And you're thinking we were starting to get field position, but then again we were sort of letting ourselves down a little bit with some poor last tackle options, with some poor kicking. Our kicking game was really not on point early on, but we're holding our own. And Penrith got that second runaway try, and you sort of thought we'd done well to be in it at 10-4 because Montoya got the try to reply. But players were dropping like flies as well. And you're sitting there going, like, how much more can go wrong? And we were actually waiting for our 18th man to get activated because we weren't sure because being at the game, you're not sure who's coming back and who isn't. I only knew Egan was out because we were texting.
Yeah.
So he had the category 1, and then there was Montoya with the HIA, Jacko 4, and I'm thinking, geez, Sion may end up playing here, but wasn't to be. And look, we just kept in touch with them. And then, as we know, the key turning point came just after halftime with the sin binning of Isaiah Yeo. And I think once we scored those 2 tries during the sin binning, the self belief just grew amongst the group.
Yep.
And we were never going to have a flashy, free flowing kind of victory, but I think the grittiness of this side really came to the fore, and they turned up for each other. They dug in. All the guys that came in, like particularly Paul Roach. Paul Roach, who came on. He looked great. He looked sharp. He had crisp service out of dummy half. Everyone had kind of gone up a gear. Like we didn't have a bad player out there. We really didn't. And you and I have been talking for a while about Taine Tuapiki and saying that he's due for a breakout game. He looks like he's on the cusp of one. Every other time that he's played first grade, he's looked like every time he's about to break the line, but just doesn't quite do it. Well, this game, he got his first line break, he got his first try, and he absolutely iced that goal from the chalk, glancing it off the post. I didn't actually realise being at the game that it actually hit the post.
Oh, did you? Okay,
No. So I didn't see that until I watched the replay. But like the closer that the scores stayed, and even when Penrith got out to 20 points to 16, you still sort of thought there was another twist in the tail. Yeah. And when we got that try, and you're going, hang on, there's only 9 minutes left in this game, and like we could hang on here, and that's when it wasn't probably until then that I really started thinking, wow, we could win this.
Yep.
And like the sequence of events that unfolded in that last few minutes. So you had the top O line break, and then the Luai pass out to the 5'8", who got absolutely hammered.
Jack Cole
by Pompey, who then proceeded to chuck his guts up. Look, that was right in front of us, and that is called a knock-on almost every day of the week. But it wasn't. Even Cooper Cronk and even the commentators saying, oh, no, that's a good call and everything. But it wasn't. It was called a knockback and then the penalty. So if anyone was wondering whose side the crowd was on at the game, like all the neutrals that were there, like they were 100% behind us because the boos when Edwards was lining up that kick was absolutely deafening. Like I've never experienced more boos ever. And I thought, I reckon he's a big chance of missing this because he's not a first choice kicker, and you know it was like 35 out, but a decent first grade kicker would ice that. But I'm like, he's not a first choice kicker, and I don't know why. It's just like he was meant to miss that. And
well, his first kicker goal was a shocker as well. And that was a pretty easy kick as well. So it was weird. But yeah, mate, it was a fantastic game of footy. I must say, I did miss being there. Not so much for the footy, but more so because I didn't get to eat my 6 hot dogs.
That's right. I said that because Tim bought a hot dog for his young bloke, and I was like, mate, if Hammer was here, he would have had about 5 or 6 of these already.
They are the best hot dogs I've had at the footy field. I love the Suncorp Stadium hot dog, to the point where now wherever I go to the footy and have a hot dog, I compare it, the hot dog at whatever venue I'm at, to the Suncorp Stadium hot dog. So Go medium
Shout
outside.
out to Ricky. Shout out to Ricky. It was good
Yeah.
to see you again on Sunday, bro. What a game.
Yeah, so I'll be trying the hot dogs this weekend at Go Medium Mount Smart Stadium.
See if they compare. Yeah.
See if they compare. I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping they're the best ones I've had because I'd love to be able to brag about that for the rest of eternity. But yeah, mate, as you said, weird kind of game. That kick out on the full to start the game. It was kind of an ominous warning of what could have been following for the next 80 minutes if, we continued on that path that we've been the last couple of weeks. That easy try to Edwards on tackle 4 straight after the error. And I actually thought then and there, and I'm not proud to say it, but I thought, here we go. That's it. All these defensive issues. All these defensive issues we've had in the past couple of weeks are going to come back and bite us. But as you said, it was an early mistake from the Panthers that gave us the opportunity to see what kind of shape the Warriors would present in a good ball set. I thought it was interesting in the first few sets of the game. Dylan Walker kind of assumed that dominant first receiver role ahead of Tamari Martin in those good ball sets, which I was a little bit concerned about. I thought we showed some really good attacking shape on the subsequent sets, but as you said, Martin's kicking game was very shallow. Didn't give the chasers enough time to get to the play. The 2 early HIAs, Ford going off, and then Egan put that already jumbled lineup under enormous pressure. Both Jacob Labin and Paulie Roach brought into the game way earlier than Webby would have liked them to. And then Egan was ruled out with that Category 1 almost immediately. Paul Roach was forced to play the remaining 65 minutes. I'm just laughing in the comments. Kai Kumba, that's my son-in-law, my granddaughter's father. He says, Raya says, good job, fellas. Raya's my granddaughter.
She would have enjoyed the win too.
She would have loved the wins because we're trying to make her not a Sharks supporter and into a Warriors supporter, but she's got no chance. She's got a mother who's a Bulldog supporter and a father who's a Sharks supporter. They're sitting at the top of the table. So he can crow a little bit at the moment, but give my granddaughter a kiss for me, mate. To be honest, though, I thought Penrith were well off their game with some uncharacteristic handling errors. They gave the Warriors some really good ball opportunities, but we were unable to capitalise until Montoya scored in that 22nd minute. Down 10-4 at half-time. The Warriors showing some real heart and fighting them. The Panthers, as I said, very uncharacteristic with only 56% completion, 8 errors, 23 missed tackles in that first half. And they struggled to get out of their own half, which gave the Warriors a lot of opportunity. But as I said, we just lacked the polish to turn that field position into possession into points. The Isaiah Yeo sim binning was crucial. Warriors took advantage of that extra man with tries to Ali Latua, scoring his first try in first grade on the right edge. Then Adam Pompey running a beautiful line on the left edge to put us out 16-10 in front. Panthers leveled the score. A huge momentum shift in favour of the Panthers with 15 minutes to go. A 7-tackle set from Martin kicked, which was an innocuous kick. It didn't look like it was going to go dead, but it just kind of got that bounce on. Then we had the penalty for a lifting tackle. There was a penalty for a high tackle, and then a repeat set. And Isaac Tungo scored to lead 20-16. There was a hip drop tackle from James Fisher-Harris on Dylan Walker that they were originally not going to give until the bunker kind of reviewed it, Walker staying down. And I'm not a fan of players staying down to try and get a penalty, but the refs seem to be missing a lot these days.
Yes.
It gave us a rare good ball set in the second half because we didn't get down the Panthers' end a lot, and a shift to the right on tackle 4, Tane Tuapiki with his first NRL try, and then that sideline conversion, as you said, to put the Warriors up. And I happened to say to Danny when we were watching the game about 4 to go, and Penrith were getting a lot of the momentum, and I said to him, I can see what's going to happen here. They're going to get a penalty. They're going to kick the penalty goal, and we're going to go into Golden Point.
And they'll win by field goal. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
But that missed penalty goal. I just wish I was in the crowd at that point in time because you could hear it through the TV. So I can only imagine how deafening it was.
It was intense. It was massive. Yeah.
It was, but as you said, mate, it's such a huge victory in the scheme of our season on the biggest stage at Magic Round against the reigning premiers, the Penrith Panthers. So many players unavailable through injury. It could be the game that gets our season back on track. And as you said, it probably ranks within, one of the top 10 victories in our club history because of the circumstances surrounding it. But we do have to be honest. As much as we'll take the 2 points, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But Penrith were well off their game compared to what they're used to. But you got to give credit to the Warriors for sticking to their game plan and having the faith in the 17 men who were selected by Webby to do the job. Just a few things for me. I thought, as much as he had at the end of the game, when you look back at his game, everyone's raving about the game of Tamati Martin. I thought he was very disappointing in the first half. I thought it was his opportunity to step up and take control. But Dylan Walker seemed to be that dominant ball player in our good ball sets in the first half. But to his credit, Martin came out after halftime. He did step up with 3 try assists. And I thought C&K was good at 6. He's certainly not an orthodox 6, but mate, certainly played with a lot of energy. I'd keep him there when SJ returns, because I would keep Tane Tuapiki at fullback.
You have to after last weekend.
Mate, C&K could become one of those big-bodied sixes like Munster the more he spends time there. Let's not forget, Cameron Munster was a fullback when he came into first grade. Nico Hines was a fullback when he came into first grade. Darren Lockyer was a fullback when he came into first grade. They all made that transition into a half. And
needs a kicking game, though.
That's the only thing. He's got to work on that. But, everyone else that wears a 6 in our club doesn't have a kicking game, so why should he be any different?
Touche.
Yeah. But yeah, mate, all the stats were in the favour of the Warriors. That's how far off the pace Penrith were in this game. Probably the big one, we had 8 line breaks to their 6. We had 39 tackle breaks to their 26. We had 28 missed tackles to their 39.
That's a lot.
Just 7 errors to Penrith's 11. So yeah, quite an interesting stats breakdown. I thought it was quite interesting that Adam Fanua-Blake only played 49 minutes in this game. Bunty Afoa 38.
Yeah, noticeably absent. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Walker with huge minutes, 73 minutes for his 178 metres, 48 post-contact metres, 30 tackles. Jazz Tavanga also coming off the bench, 42 minutes, 158 metres, 53 post-contact, 21 tackles. Tom Arley contributed a little bit there. He only got the 17 minutes. Paul Roach was outstanding, 68 minutes. I think before this game, he'd played 3 minutes of first grade.
He would have gotten less than 20 minutes in all of his previous first grade games. So he barely played on the field.
Yeah. He, not a lot of run meters. Did his job out of dummy half with his service
crisp service. Yeah.
Absolutely, but 37 tackles. But mate, our back 3, how good were they? Tane Tuapiki, you're a big fan of Tane. He was outstanding, wasn't he?
He was fantastic. 198 meters, 28 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and try, and can kick. So we've got another goal kicker in our ranks, which is good.
We do.
Yeah. Dallin had for his 200th game. Without being outstanding, he did his job. 100 meters, 22 post contact, 5 tackle breaks. Didn't really go to his side too much.
No.
Montoya had a return to form. 153 meters, 49 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and a try.
Yeah. The big one for me was comes under a lot of criticism is Adam Pompey. Adam Pompey, 165 metres, 49 post-contact metres, that all-important try. He had 4 tackle breaks, a line break, an offload. But he was involved in everything. He had that crucial defensive read at the end of the game there to deny the Panthers. I thought he was outstanding. And Barnett, with his 136 run metres, was the pick of our forwards, I think, along with Walker and Tavanga, and putting his hand up for Origin selection, no doubt. And then you've got a guy like Chance who made that transition from 1 to 6. with 136 run meters,
For
19
a half,
tackles. Yeah, a try assist, 3 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 3 offload. He had a massive game chance in an unfamiliar position. Yeah, it could be the game that kickstarts our season, I think, mate.
Oh, well, if anything is going to, it'll be a performance like that. And yeah, let's hope that we can bottle that spirit and continue that. But well, at least till next week, because that makes next week's game huge because we have to buy after that. So it's like a 4-point game. We build some momentum. So
absolutely,
yeah, we'll talk more about that game later. But the Roo Hammer Player of the Year points for myself. 3 points had to go to Tane Tuapiki, just absolute star of the afternoon. Came up with the big plays, the try, the goal kick, but he was safe. Like that amazing. It was a really good stop on Tariva in the corner, even though they called it a high tackle. I don't think it was that high. But yeah, he produced in all facets of the game. He was an absolute star, and he has to be there in the team in some capacity.
Agree.
2 points went to Jazz Tavanga. I thought he changed the momentum when he came on. He was vintage Jazz. Heavily involved. Apart from that howler of a captain's challenge, yeah, he was fantastic with his energy and yeah, you know what you're going to get from him, and it was vintage Jazz. 1 point, Adam Pompey. I thought he was outstanding. Yeah, he had a couple of errors in this game, which he tends to have, but yeah, he came up with big plays offensively and defensively. That hit at the end was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
Yourself?
Same as you, mate, with my 3 points. I gave 3 to Tane. I just thought there was no better player on the field on Sunday afternoon. He was outstanding, and I echo your sentiments. We've said it all along. His first 3 games this season were outstanding, and we knew he was filling a hole there for Chance whilst Chance was injured. But he's proven that he needs to be in that 17 somewhere. And I'd accommodate him at fullback and make some adjustments in our back line there. 2 points to Dylan Walker. I thought he really stood up in the absence of Tohu Harris. Was absolutely outstanding. As I said, was pleasantly surprised that he took on that first receiver role early in the game. Gave us a little bit of direction there. And then, like you, I think Jazz really changed the momentum of the game. I gave him 1 point. As you said, he had that howler of a captain's challenge. And
I couldn't believe that. I was like, did he legitimately challenge that?
I was listening to the Ben Hunt on Matty Johns last week, where they asked him about that that running battle that he had with Zach Lomax the week previous, where Lomax wanted him to challenge a drop ball or whatever it was, and they asked Ben Hunt how he goes about deciding, and he said everyone gets one shot, and if they do have a poor read, and they never get one again. So that's Jazz done. He doesn't get to challenge ever again.
I like that. Yeah, you've lost your license, challenge license.
Yeah, absolutely. So that gave Tane the full complement of 6 points this week. Jazz picked up 3, Dylan Walker 2, Adam Pompey 1, which sees no change to the season rankings at the top, with Adam still way out in front in 34 Roo Hammer points, followed by Mitch Barnett on 14. Tane Tuapiki's risen up. He's on 10. Dylan Walker has jumped up on 8. And, Jazz picks up his first points of the season. He's on 3. So, looking good, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at the other games from what was a really good Magic round. There were some really great games out there, some great quality footy. And it all started on Friday night with the Raiders versus the Bulldogs in the first game played. Raiders 24, Young 2, Savage and Chris tries, Rapana 4 from 4 over the Bulldogs 20. Preston, Crichton, Burton, Carraz tries, Burton 2 from 4. I think the Raiders took a lot of inspiration. I think they'd had a reunion of the 1994 grand final team, the 30-year reunion. I saw a bit of footage of Laurie Daly in the sheds after the game, and they really encapsulated, I think, and took inspiration from that, because this was a gutsy win from the Raiders. They were down to 11 men at one point in time, and the Bulldogs looked like they were coming all over the top of them, but the Raiders found a way to win this. So how do you see it?
Yeah, mate, impressive come from behind victory from the Raiders. I did predict that they would not make anywhere. They wouldn't climb out of the bottom 4 this year. So, again, my prediction's going very, very well. Double to Hudson Young, getting the Raiders home in that tight one. And, yeah, as you said, I saw that footage of Laurie Daly talking to the side after the game about
Quentin
the 94
Ponga.
Raiders. And, honouring Quentin Ponga, a very powerful haka led by Jordan Rapana in the sheds after that one. So, yeah, great win by the Raiders because the Bulldogs have found a little bit of form. So that's a win that the Raiders really, really needed.
Yeah, and the second game on Friday night was another rip snorter of a match. The Sea Eagles, the home team, against the away team, the Broncos, at Suncorp Stadium for the last time. But both teams without their game-changing fullbacks. So the Broncos were without the superstar Reece Walsh. Broncos 13, Piakura and Mariner tries, Staggs 2 from 2, and Madden with the field goal. And Sea Eagles 12, Garrick and Vega tries, and Garrick 2 from 2. Really great gripping contest. Went down to the wire. Yeah. How did you see this one? It was a game of 2 halves.
It was equally exciting Friday night thriller. Broncos led 12-0 half time. Manly had all that ascendancy in the second half. They got back to level the game, and Jock Madden kicking the all-important field goal in the 75th minute for victory. As he said, could have been forgiven for thinking that a little bit of shine would come off this game because there's no Tom Trbojevic, no Reece Walsh, no Adam Reynolds, but it's still a cracking game of footy. The Broncos keep winning without their superstars too, so they're going to be a real danger when they get their full complement of players back on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Super Saturday, that kicked off with the Titans versus the Knights, the injury-decimated Titans. It was the Knights 28, Armstrong 3, Jones and Saifidi tries, Hastings 4 from 5. Over the Titans 24, Cam Pereira 2, Haas, Jojo Fafita and Keanu Kinney tries, Shop 2 from 5. The Knights are a funny side at the moment. They never look particularly outstanding, but they just keep winning. And the Titans, this was another sort of real seesawing affair. Controversial finish. With the Titans denied a try, but I think it was the right call. What were your thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, Hammer has just dropped out, but we'll continue. So the Titans led 24-10 at halftime, and the Knights, they fought hard in that second half to get back into it.
Did I just drop out, mate?
You did. I just continued. I was just telling them about the Titans with the 24-10 halftime lead, and then the Knights fought hard in that second half.
Yeah, like I said, I've been impressed with the Titans because they've been playing some tough footy of late, and they're injury-riddled at the moment. But the Knights, as you said, without Ponga, everyone kind of ripped them off, and they haven't lost a game since, and they've quietly snuck into the 8. So, yeah, they're hard. These two teams are two teams to really get a good read on at the moment. But, good game of footy.
Yeah, it was. And the second game of the Saturday night, this was the absolute blockbuster of the weekend, the Sharks versus the Roosters, billed as the most important game of the Magic Round weekend. And for some reason, they put it at the 5:30 Saturday game.
Yeah.
The Sharks 38, Kennedy, Katoa, Wilton, Talakai, Mulatalo, and Hazleton try 7 from 7. Over the Roosters 30, Palga 2, Young 2, Tupou tries, Walker 5 from 6. Bit of a statement result here from the Sharkies.
Yep. Yeah, lived up to the pre-game hype. 2 form teams of the competition, and Sharkies look like a true title contender this season. Their biggest thing has been they've been unable to beat top 8 sides in seasons past, which has been the big running joke for a couple of seasons. But, mate, they've only lost the 1 game this year, and that was against the Tigers. So, yeah, they're clicking along nicely.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
They certainly are. And the final game of Super Saturday saw the Rabbitohs versus the Cowboys. 2 teams really struggling for form and consistency. And it was the Cowboys prevailing 28 points to 22. Cowboys 28, Burns with a double, Dearden with a double, and Viliami Valea got a try. Holmes 4 from 6. The Rabbitohs 22, Mitchell, Johnson, Walker, Cook tries. Mitchell 3 from 4. Well, somebody had to win this game. And, yeah, I think the Rabbitohs, their woes continue.
Yeah, close game, as you said, close game between 2 teams who are just struggling for any consistency whatsoever. Cowboys doing enough to hold on to a fast finishing Rabbitohs. Bunnies did look better than they have in previous weeks. Mate, it's interesting that at this time last year, they were top of the table. A lot can happen in 12 months. And they'll be buoyed by the fact Wayne Bennett has been officially announced as their head coach for the next 3 seasons. So a lot of these guys will want to turn their season around quickly, or they could be without a job once Uncle Wayne gets there at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, we move on to Sunday, and we've already discussed the Warriors versus Panthers. And speaking of not having a job anymore, we move on to the Storm versus the Eels, and the Storm with a 48-16 hammering. Grant 2, Smith 2, Kamakamika, Warbrick, Coates, Katoa tries, Meany 8 from 9 over the Eels 16. Simonson, Talangi, Sivo tries, Russell none from 1, Dejan Azi 2 from 2. As I said, the match that ultimately cost Brad Arthur his job on the eve of his 50th birthday.
Yeah.
Well, thoughts on all that?
Mate, the only blowout score of the whole of Magic Round, really, wasn't it? Parramatta, just a team struggling to find any form. Storm led 16-0 at halftime and scored 5 converted second-half tries despite losing Cam Munster to a reoccurring groin injury just before halftime. Brad Arthur sacking, as you said. Yeah. He did. But yeah, Brad Arthur sacking on Monday, huge news. Great work by the Fox League and NRL 360 to have him live on NRL 360 on Tuesday night while he's out at dinner for celebrating his birthday.
Yeah,
so
that's continuing their fine run of form on NRL 360.
Absolutely, yeah. Aren't they a great great group of things? And I know you want to tee off on the NRL 360, boys. So we'll get through this last one, mate. Sure. The Tigers versus Dolphins.
Okay, yeah. As you said, the Tigers versus Dolphins was the Sunday night game. It was a bit of a dour affair. The Dolphins 24-12 winners over the Tigers. Tabuai feed over the double Bostock. Nichols tries. Sako 4 from 4. Can't Mark Nichols find a try?
Yeah.
He just gets over the line, doesn't he? Yeah. The Tigers 12. Olau and Coruscant tries. Coruscant 2 from 2. How did you see this game?
Mate, if I'm to be 100% honest, I didn't watch it. I was asleep. The Dolphins, they did close out Magic Round with a try-double to the Hammer. They led 12-6 at halftime, and they were never really troubled by the Tigers. They're another team, mate. They're similar to us last year. They're just quietly going about their business, winning games, and they're in the top 4. So they're going to be
and everyone's assuming that they're going to drop out, and everyone's assuming that this is going to happen, this, that, and the other thing's going to happen, but they're sticking there. They're winning their games. You're right. You are right.
Yeah, they are. And the Dragons had the bye, mate. What's the ladder look like?
Yeah, mate. So as you mentioned before, the Sharks continue to be the outright leaders at the top of the competition ladder on 20 points. Storm moved back into second on 18. The Panthers lost, dropping them to third on 16 points. The Dolphins remaining in 4th place, also on 16. The Broncos move up to 5th spot. The Raiders in 6th, both teams on 14 points. The Roosters are in 7th spot ahead of the Knights in 8th, both on 12. The Dragons are in 9th, also on 12 points, with the Sea Eagles in 10th on 11. The Bulldogs and Cowboys in 11th and 12th on 10. The Warriors in 13th on 9. The Eels in 14th on 8 points. Tigers, Titans on 6 points in 15th and 16th. And the Rabbitohs remain anchored to the bottom of the table in the wooden spoon position on just 4 points.
Mate, before I let you loose on a rant, and before we move on to round 12, it's be remiss of me not to mention the first of the Women's State of Origin games was played last Thursday night at Suncorp Stadium. It was like the curtain raiser to the whole of the Magic Round circus. It's the first game of a 3-game series this year. And weirdly enough, though, this Origin series kicked off with many of these girls selected to have not played a game of footy yet this season. Many of the Queensland women have been playing in that BMD Women's Premiership in Queensland. However, the sister Premiership series in New South Wales, the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership, has not commenced yet this season, as a decision was made that competition will be played in conjunction with the NRLW season this year. So the girls contracted to the clubs who aren't selected in the game day 17 will be able to drop back and play some Harvey Norman Women's Premiership footy, which I think is a great idea. But regardless, they still went ahead with an Origin series of players that hadn't really played. But it was a high-quality game. The New South Wales Blues drawing first blood. Blues 22. Tonegado, Chapman, Johnston tries. Pearson 5 from 5 goals over the Maroons 12. Upton, Bass tries. Tamara 2 from 2. The big one here was the game was played. It was a standalone game played in front of a record crowd of over 25,000 people, which is massive for the women's game. The Blues flew out of the blocks with tries to Emma Tonegado and Jamie Chapman inside the first 10 minutes to set up a lead that they would never relinquish. Chapman ran for 140 metres, broke 4 tackles in the first half before finishing the night with 164. Blues back rower Yasmin Clydesdale was voted player of the match for her 13 runs and 162 run metres. And the Blues came up with 6 line breaks to the Maroons 1. Once again, Isabel Kelly came up with 158 run metres in a very powerful display. Game 2 is on Thursday, the 6th of June at McDonald Jones Stadium. But, mate, you want to tee off on our good friends over at, before we move on to round 12, at NRL 360. What has upset you with James Graham?
Oh, look, let me start out by saying I've never been James Graham's biggest fan. I think he's completely unhinged, and I think he's copped one too many head knocks throughout his career, and I just can't understand what he's on about half the time. But something that really bugged me this week is when, after Brad Arthur's sacking, they were talking about potential candidates for the Parramatta gig, and I think it was on the Tuesday night, he had a throwaway, Monday night it would have been. He had a throwaway line saying, maybe they look at Andrew Webster from the Warriors. Maybe they want to get him back to Western Sydney. And then I was like, no one really said anything. I was like, is he crazy? Like, Webby just re-signed for another 3 years, so he's got 4 years left to go on his contract. I was like, I just put that down to James Graham, just throwing money out there.
Graham, yeah.
Being James Graham. And then he brought it up again last night on the show. And I think Brent Reid was talking about potential candidates, and he said Webby's name had come up along with Toddy Payton, but he said they're like sort of long shot candidates. And then James Graham jumps and goes, why would you not go after him? And then they all had to kind of explain to him that he's contracted for another 4 years. And it's like, yeah, but they got the money to pay him out for that, like that. He was like making this really, I think he was trying to convince himself that they had this case that they could get Webby. It's just so annoying. It takes me back to the Reece Walsh days at the Warriors, when he was here and everyone was just going on about, so-and-so needs to sign Reece Walsh. The Broncos need to sign him. The Dolphins need to sign him. It's like, guys, he's got like a 2-3 year contract with us. And it's almost like the Warriors are not allowed to have good players or good coaches. Warriors can't have nice things. And now they're trying to make a case to come after Webby. The guy's got 4 more years on his contract. Like, seriously, are you going to get him to break his contract or buy him out of 4 years? Like, he's just come off one of the best seasons in club history. He's into his 2nd season. Can anyone really see Webby going anywhere at the moment? Did you really think he would be lured to Parramatta to break a contract that he's just basically recommitted to with the club last year?
I'm with ridiculous. I'm with Chris, mate. That was a good impression. That was an awesome impression. Yeah, I know. I saw that, and I might have mellowed in my old age, mate, because shit like that used to annoy me, and now I kind of just think, fucking NRL 360, they're at it again. But
they're ridiculous. Like, they just throw so much mud and hope that some of it sticks.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Just discussing that. Not that we give a shit about Parramatta, but just discussing that. It's an interesting one they find themselves in, because there was always talk that, like a couple of weeks ago, that they were looking at Bennett and all the rest of it, and then they kind of sacked Brad Arthur 2 weeks too late, because even as late as yesterday,
they really did. They botched it.
Yeah, they did, because even as late as yesterday, they were still trying to lure Bennett to Parramatta, and he's like, "No, I'm going to South Sydney."
That's all right. Ask James Graham; he'll get him out of his contract.
But that's going to be a hard job to take on. that Parramatta side. They've got a bit of an aging roster. They're talking about a rookie coach coming in, but I don't know if a rookie coach is the best fit.
A lot of rebuilding to do. Like if a rookie coach comes in, yeah.
Yeah, massive. Like we said before we came on live, probably the best one available at the moment that would be able to do anything with that roster is Michael Maguire. But is Michael Maguire in the same mould, like a hard-nosed coach that Brad Arthur is? I don't know. Be interesting story to follow. The other interesting story that broke today, before we move on to things, is that Isaiah Papali'i has been granted permission to get out of the final year of his contract. Going to be interesting to see where he ends up, because
with this whole Parramatta thing, it's happened all at the same time. But I thought Brad Arthur was the guy that got the best out of him.
Yeah, me too.
Well, the only guy that's been able to get anything out of him, to be honest.
Yeah. Interesting one. Let's see where he ends up, because probably 2 years ago I would have thought maybe the Warriors, because his partner was playing netball in New Zealand, but she's now here in Australia playing netball.
Yeah.
So no. The Roosters have some money. They've missed out on Fafita. Panthers have some money. They missed out on Fafita. So he could end up at one of those two marquee clubs.
You'd have to think. I reckon Roosters. I reckon he'll be at the Roosters.
And unconfirmed reports today saying Sean Johnson's re-signed for 2025.
Well, he knocked back the Roosters 2-year, $850K offer, and he said he wanted to stay in New Zealand. We knew that.
We knew that.
Along. Yeah.
Yeah. We knew he wasn't going to leave it's either the Warriors or retirement for SJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting to see. It'll be good. It'll be interesting to see once it's confirmed. But we did predict that he would go around next year. The fact that James Fisher-Harris is coming there is probably a good incentive for him as well. But speaking Warriors, let's move onto the round 12 game. Take a look at the Warriors team that Webby's named for this week's home game against the Dolphins. As we said at the beginning of the show, we're excited for this one. We'll be attending this game together. You've obviously been to a few games over the years at Mount Smart Stadium. This will be my first ever home game at Mount Smart Stadium.
Popping your cherry. Yeah.
Yeah. And, people will say, how have you been a day one supporter and never been to Mount Smart? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. And probably the biggest one is the fact that I was a single dad for a lot of years, raising young kids, and never had the time or the money to get the family over to New Zealand. And I'm able to do that now. I was going to go back in 2020 and COVID hit. But yeah, get the opportunity now. No person I'd rather do it with than you, mate, since we've been on this journey.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to meeting up with our brother over there, Brad Inger. Going to be an awesome day on the Sunday. Really looking forward to it. And spending a bit of time with you over there for a few days as well, mate. Not much history to reflect on with the Dolphins. A new franchise last season, just the 2 games played, a win apiece, with the Warriors winning the corresponding home game last season. So I can't really throw to you to give us a little bit of your intake on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, both games were last year as well, so it's very recent history. Yeah, I mean, we had a good win over there against them over at Mount Smart, and then the second game was when we rested like 3/4 of our team. So they had a big win that day, but it probably wasn't an accurate.
Last year's home game was in Heritage Round as well, wasn't it? Where
it was, we wore the fantastic black and grey jersey,
And you're sporting this year's Heritage jersey, mate?
The Indigenous jersey. Yeah,
the Indigenous jersey, that's it.
Yeah. So this is the Indigenous jersey we're going to be wearing because, obviously it's Indigenous round this weekend. So, I really like this strip. It's quite subtle in terms of like the design on it, but it's still got the Warriors flavour. So it's still got the very thin red, green, and blue chevrons on there, which I really like. The back's got a little bit happening, but not as bad as some of the other years. I think when it's just been like a lot on the jersey,
that one,
like a lot. Yeah. Like some of those are just being way too busy, but this one I sort of found was a bit more subtle. It has all our like classic colours as well. It's got the black along with the green, red, green, and blue. So I was a big fan of this jersey. I know other people are not so much, but each their own. And we'll be wearing this.
Yeah, I like it.
This on Sunday.
I'll be grabbing one when I get over there. I'm trying to save myself the $30 delivery fee. I'd rather just pick it up in person, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because for those of you who don't know, yeah, it does cost a fortune to get anything sent to Australia, where we both live, from the official store. So, yeah, it's actually, when you're talking about attending games at Mount Smart, it's actually been 20 years since I first went to a game at Ericsson Stadium, as it was back then. I went 2004, so not a great season in club history, and I saw us lose a couple of games, but still like very memorable, and it's
I
very,
must
I think,
say,
fitting that it's 20 years since I first went.
I have been to what was then Ericsson Stadium. I used to work for a company, and they used to send me on jaunts to overseas to do some work. And I did go to New Zealand. The last time I was back in New Zealand was 2000, and it was not footy season. But because I was in Auckland, I did go to Mount Smart Stadium, Ericsson Stadium at the time, and kind of have a bit of a peek through the gate and a wander around. So I have been there. I have seen it with my own eyes. I just never attended a game there. So
They wouldn't have had the big grandstand back then. That would have been,
no,
it would have been very
no,
open. Yeah, same as
that
when I
was.
first went. You didn't see Ivan
Yeah.
Cleary wandering around outside just wearing his footy shorts, looking
I
for
think
his,
he was.
for his
I think
house
he was at the. He might have been at the hospital.
back in 2000. Just reminded me of that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get onto the team list that Webby has named for round 12. So Tane Tuapiki at fullback, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and Marcelo Montoya on the wings. Rocco Berry returning to the side in the centres with Adam Pompey. In the halves, Chance Nickel-Klukstad retains his spot at 6. Tamate Martin at halfback. Front row of Adam Fanua-Blake, Freddie Lussick, Funty Afoa. Jackson Ford, Mitch Barnett, and Dylan Walker round out the run-on side. On the bench, Tom Ale, Jazz Tavanga, Jacob Laban, and Murata Niokore are returning from injury. Paul Roach, who I feel is the unlucky man here, is in jersey 18. Chanel Harris Tavita, Zion Mayu, Ed Corsi, and Moala Graham Taufa. Yeah, as I said, I really feel Roach is hard done by to not make the game day 17 at all. I would have had him in at hooker in a heartbeat over Freddie Lussick after what we've seen from both of them. But I think we have to start trusting Webby again. So in Webby we retrust, do we say?
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing is Ali Leatawa. I thought he played quite well in attack, but he's obviously picked up an injury, and that's what I should have mentioned. He was right on our edge where we were sitting in the crowd, and he was struggling for most of that first half. So actually, it's not surprising that he's out. Like, I think in his first hit up of the game, he got injured. So that would be why he's not there. But yeah, I think Paul Roach is very hard done by. And still no Zion Mayu. But I guess you have to reward the guys that were there last week that did the job.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the team?
Mate, same with you. I'm actually expecting that if Murata Niokore is, because he's named a week early, I thought they might have kept him out of the side this week, let him have the bye, and then bring him back in round 14, like a lot of guys will be coming back. So I don't know whether he does play or not. If Murata Niokore is deemed fit to play, I think Jacob Laban drops off that bench and Paul Roach gets on the bench, because I can't see Freddie Lussick playing 80 minutes.
No.
And there's no real coverage there. Jazz just isn't a dummy half. He's not that guy you can
not anymore.
Fit into dummy half anymore. And that's very forward-heavy bench, which is quite weird because we've been complaining over the last couple of weeks that there hasn't been enough forwards on the bench, and now now we're complaining that there's too many forwards. So
too much soft.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Paul Roach is the unlucky man. I would have had him at 9 starting, and he proved that he can do that. Maybe Lussick coming off the bench, but again, as you said, in Webby we trust. It is what it is. Still can't believe that Zion Mayu isn't in this team yet. People are saying he is a beast, and we're only going by what we've seen on game day. He had a great trial against the Tigers early in the year. In his debut game, the 13 minutes that he played in his debut game, I think it was against the Titans, he was outstanding. Yes. He really changed the energy and the intensity but we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know if he's impressing at training or putting his hand up or, making himself be noticed. At training. So again, we're not going to second guess the man that is in charge of the club at the helm as coach and has to do deals with these guys 24/7. We just trust the process, as they say. But yeah, mate, on the game, Warriors, they'll be looking to build on last week's result. Obviously, we need to match the Dolphins' energy. As I said earlier, they're a team that just keeps flying under the radar so far this season. They're winning games. They're not doing anything overly special, but they're in the top four. They're kind of how we were going at this stage last year.
Yes.
They've proven they can score points, and with the Hammer back, Osako on a wing, Bostock, who's probably averaging nearly a try a game for his career at the moment.
He's a real threat.
Yeah, and quality centres in Farmworth and Avarillo, they have some points in them, the Dolphins. So we'll need to minimise our high error count, minimise our penalty count, reduce our missed tackles, and not give them any opportunities inside our half. Our strength's going to be our back three again. DWZ and Montoya return the ball with such energy and effort in their runs. Tane Tuapiki was outstanding last week and really hasn't put a foot wrong in any of his NRL appearances so far this season. We'll be expecting much more of the same from him this week. C&K's move into 6 last week yielded results. Again, like I said, a big-bodied 6 coming up against either Isaiah Katoa or Cody Nikarima, who were not very big men at all. So can put a lot of defensive pressure on those guys. Tamari Martin, he stepped up in the second half last week in SJ's absence. He'll need to do that again. He'll need to have a better kicking game this week. And for me, Adam Pompey, he may have just elevated himself to our number one centre after last week's effort. He comes under a lot of criticism, and that we'll be looking for him to continue that against probably Herbie Farmworth. I think he'll be marking up again.
Yeah, big job.
AFB is going to be the interesting one. As I said, only 49 game minutes last week, only 69 run meters. The first time he's had under 100 meters in I can't remember how long.
Very out of character. Yeah,
very out of character. I don't know if he was carrying an injury or what the go was, whether he was sick or what have you. I expect him and Barnett to continue their form, both playing long minutes now. Barnett on the cusp of origin selection. I expect another huge game from him. And as I said, Freddie Lussick at 9. I expect after last week's game, Roach will come onto that bench probably for Jacob Labin. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Roach get more minutes than Lussick. Going to be an interesting game of footy.
It will be. We'll be there front and centre to see it all, mate.
We will be. And after last week's effort, where I questioned what was going on, and I think I made the comment that Webby must be smoking crack because that team that he selected was just bizarre. That team did the job, and I think they can do it again. Hey, Brad, how are you, mate? Thanks for joining us.
Evening, Bradley.
No apologies for being late, mate. We know you've got stuff to do. We were just saying before how we're both really looking forward to getting over there on the weekend and experiencing this first home game as Roo Hammer and being able to spend some time with you, mate. So really looking forward to that. What's your tip?
I just suddenly thought of what we were talking about during the week. So I kind of likened this Warriors side from last week to the Queensland side of 1995. Yep. Fatty Wharton's bunch of no-names that he got together in the height of the Super League war that famously came together. A bunch of guys that half of them weren't even playing first grade to represent Queensland. They won 3-0 completely out of the blue. And then they kind of stuck with those guys the following season and it had kind of run its course. And, they sort of got found out a little bit. So you can't help but feel like this could be one of those scenarios where those guys at that time, at that place, came together and did the job. So it's going to be tough to back it up for sure, because they'll have all the adrenaline and they'll have all that sort of pumping through them. But I think that they can do it. I think that it will be a tough game. It'll be a close game, and we're going to have to defend well because, as you mentioned, they've got so much strike in their side. The Dolphins. You've got Osako, try scoring machine. They've got fast centres in Avarillo, Herbie Farmworth, then the Hammers back in top form as well. So if we can keep them quiet and win the forward battle, and we make the right options in attack. Like instead of going side to side, we start, playing smart footy and picking out the gaps and like the way that we got the tries last week.
Yep.
On either side, so 2 tries on either side as well, which was great. We sort of unlocked our left side a little bit. But yeah, I'm predicting I think it's going to be really close. Warriors by 4 for me.
Yeah. The other danger for the Dolphins is Jeremy Marshall-King out of dummy half. I think
Yes.
he's a guy that doesn't get the credit for a lot of the attacking flair that they get out of dummy half. He's got a good running game on him. He's very good defensively. So he's one that we will have to watch. I think if this was being played at Suncorp, I might be thinking differently. But the fact that it's been played at Mount Smart Stadium, home ground, that's probably one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is as a Warriors fan and never having been there for a game, I have never been a home fan supporting the Warriors. So that's probably the thing I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, except for COVID. That's true. In the Redcliffe days and what have you. But I've never been a true home fan.
Yes,
Where,
I know what you mean,
at our fortress amongst all Warriors fans, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think another sellout crowd is going to get the Warriors home. I think we'll win by 8. I think it'll be 8 points, like a converted try and a penalty goal, something like that. But going to be a really good game of footy, mate. Let's take a quick look at the remaining games of round 12. Plenty of changes again, injuries galore across a lot of sides. And in saying that, the first one we talk about Bulldogs and Dragons on Thursday night at McCall Stadium. Bulldogs no changes to their 17. They're going to, I think Jamin Salmon's back. Sorry. For the Bulldogs.
He's pushed Curran to the bench.
To the bench. For the Dragons, they're fresh from the bye. Didn't have to go to Magic Round, boo frickety who. They've named an unchanged lineup from their last game, except big Luciano Leilua comes onto the bench for Brad's favourite player, Ben Murdoch-Masila. This is a hard one to pick. I'm going to pick the Dragons, mate. I think the Dragons in a close one.
Dragons, wow.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm picking them.
I'm going to go the Bulldogs. Bulldogs in a close one. I think it'll be high scoring affair, but I think the Bulldogs will get them.
All right.
Okay. Friday, Cowboys versus Tigers, Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Cowboys, Braden Burns named on the wing. Thomas McKaylee named on the bench. Tigers, Declan Casey and Josh Velladay named in the centres. Isaiah Papali'i returns from suspension, but will he play? Who knows?
Yeah.
And Justin Matamua named at lock. Cowboys comfortably. Cowboys by 16.
Yeah, Cowboys in a canter, and that's not because they're playing well. I just think the Tigers are struggling once again for form.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to the Sea Eagles versus Storm at 4 Pines Park, the Battle of Brookvale again. Sea Eagles, Jason Saab returns on the wing. Carl Lawton named at hooker. For the Storm, Cam Munster out, but Jerome Hughes back from injury. Josh King named at lock. Trent Loiero moved to the bench. Can't really get a good read on how the Sea Eagles are really travelling at the moment. They're kind of one of those funny teams that look really good and then come up with a disappointing loss. I'm going to go the Sea Eagles in a very close one because I think it'll be the home ground advantage that will get them home by 2.
Yeah, funny you should say that. I'm the same. I think it'll be a really close one. Sea Eagles by a Daly Cherry Evans field goal for me.
Yeah, don't we know that?
Absolutely, we do. On to the Super Saturday, mate. The first game is the Raiders versus Roosters at GIO Stadium. Going to be a chilly one down there in Canberra. For the Raiders, Emre Gula's named in the front row. For the suspended Josh Papali'i, Peter Holler comes onto the bench. For the Roosters, Joey Manu returns from concussion. Nafahu White named at lock. Connor Watson out injured. Victor Radley named on an edge. Mate, I'm going to say the Roosters. Roosters by 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go Roosters by 7.
And then the game of the round, Sharks versus Panthers at PointsBet Stadium, first versus third. No changes for the Sharks, 17. No changes to the Panthers, 17. Going to be an interesting matchup, this one. It's hard because Penrith very rarely lose 2 in a row.
Yeah.
The Sharks are just humming along nicely, and I think the Warriors might have exposed some deficiencies with the Panthers. I'm going to pick the Sharks in a close one. Sharks by 2.
I was just about to say that. Sharks by 2. I'll go Sharks by 1. I think it'll be a really close game, and a Nico Hines field goal will decide it.
There you go. And then the final game is Super Saturday. The Rabbits versus Eels at Accor Stadium. For the Rabbits, Tane Milne and Michael Cheekham have been named in the centres. Jacob Gagai named on the wing. Jack Whiten finally moved to 5'8", to partner Cody Walker at halfback. Keon Kolomatangi named at lock. For the Eels, Dejan Arzi named at number 6. Madison and Lane named in the back row. It's a Cardi party off the bench. Bryce Cartwright coming off the bench. I don't think the Eels will be partying too much. I'm actually going to tip the Rabbits. I think the Rabbits are close to a win, and the Eels are the team that are probably that dysfunctional that can do enough to get the Rabbits home. I'm going to pick the Rabbits by 4.
Oh, this is a shambles, this one. Which way do you go? Oh. Yeah, look, I might go the Rabbits by 10. I think there'll be quite a few tries scored, a few lead changes.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right, Sunday footy is the Broncos versus the Titans at Suncorp Stadium. Hang on, Sunday, Broncos, Suncorp Stadium. Wow.
At least they got a home game. At least they're at home.
Yeah, for the Broncos, superstar Reece Walsh returns from his injury. Josiah Kaparangi named in the centres. Jock Madden retains the halfback spot. Titans, Jojo Fafita to the centres. Tony Francis named on the wing. Tom Weaver at halfback. Sam Verrills back to 9. Joseph Pahulu named to start. I think the Broncos pretty comfortably here. Broncos by 14.
Yeah, as much as I said before that the Titans have really impressed me with the fight and the spirit that they've got in them, because they have been fighting really hard. I just think that the Broncos are just going to be way too good, and we'll probably put a score on the hapless Titans here. I think the Broncos by 20.
Yes, and then the final final game on Saturday is Warriors versus Dolphins, as we said, at Go Media Stadium. Warriors, Rocco Berry back from injury. Dylan Walker named at 13. Muradania Corey on the bench. Freddie Lussick named to start. Paul Roach, 18th man. Dolphins, Max Plath returns from suspension at 13. Kenny Bromwich goes back to the bench. I think we both said, if I said Warriors by 4, you said Warriors by 8.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
the Knights have the bye.
Yeah, which is interesting for them because that'll keep them in the top 8 at the moment.
It will.
So, yeah. Well, mate, that's the round previewed. And Roo Hammer will be on a bit of a hiatus next week as we will be in New Zealand. And, well, I will be in New Zealand on Wednesday. Rob, you fly home on Tuesday, don't you, mate?
Yeah, I'm there Saturday till Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually in New Zealand until Wednesday, the 5th of June. So we're hoping to do a live show again on Thursday, the 6th of June, which will just be a catch-up after the bye round where we can talk all things New Zealand and our time away leading into our round 14 game against the Cowboys. So really looking forward to the next 2 weeks, getting out and getting over there. And the reason for my trip home is taking my dad, who passed away 12 months ago. We're taking his ashes home to the marae. So, it's going to be a special trip over there. But I'm really thankful that you're coming over, spending some time with us over there. It's going to be great. Going to be good to experience that Mount Smart with you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have missed it. Yeah, it's something that we've been wanting to do together for a long time as Roo and Hammer. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic and always great to get back to Go Media Stadium.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap it up for the night, again, I just want to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters, and that is especially our Patreon supporters for their continued support. And a special shout out to our gold tier Patreons, Alf Tuolave, Malcolm Earnshaw, Chris Wellington, Nigel Phillips, Lisa Marie Bateman, Sean Whiskey, Ken Wills, and Stevie Williams. We thank you for your continued support. We really appreciate it. And if you do want to show your appreciation and support, you can head to our Patreon page to subscribe to our bronze tier general support level, or silver and gold tiers, which includes supporter merchandise and other benefits as well. So you can jump on there, and the link is on your screen and in the bio, and have a look at some of the ways that you can support us with what we do here in Roo Hammer. And another way that you can show your support is to jump onto our Redbubble store. If you want to grab yourself a fantastic Roo Hammer t-shirt, we got shirts with players, we got shirts with memorable moments in Warriors history. We've got everything on there. So if you love your merchandise, jump onto our Redbubble store. Heaps of designs on there, new ones coming up every day. So jump on there, have a look, grab yourself some fantastic new threads.
Absolutely. And on that note, that's it for tonight's show. Thank you all for joining us once again. Thanks for everyone who's commented in the comments section, been part of the show. Thank you all to every single one of you who continue to support Roo Hammer. It's very much appreciated. Brad, we look forward to seeing you on Sunday, mate. And everyone else will see in 2 weeks. Up the wars.
Up the wires. Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone.